Hey, are you listening? Are you ready to listen? Okay, I might have given it away. What we're talking about today is the number one communication tool and communication skill that most people forget about. So stay tuned. Coming up. All right. So we said we were going to talk about the number one communication skill that a lot of us forget about. Here's what I've noticed. I noticed that when people say, I need to work on my communication skills, we typically mean that we need to work on how we're sending our message, how well we are helping the other understand what we mean by what we say. This is typically what we think about when we think about, oh, I need to work on my communication skills. Is that you as well? Is that what you say? Is that what you think? When you think communication skills, what do you think about? It's funny that what I see a lot of people do is communication is all about delivering the message. And we don't think about communication enough in terms of how well are we able to receive the message? How well are we able to understand the message? I've been doing a full workplace culture and communication course for the past few weeks now with an amazing group at one of the colleges here in Toronto and in Ontario, actually, because they are in different cities. And we did a lot on communication skills and how it works. And communication really is a two-way street, right? When you talk about communication, you talk about how you're sending your message. And then I'm, as the speaker, I will be responsible for how well I'm sending my message to you. And as a listener, you're responsible for making sure that you understand my message correctly. And wherever it is not clear, you're going to make sure that it's clear to you. So we have to meet each other halfway to make sure that communication actually works. And a lot of you, and thank you for that, a lot of you shared, a lot of you who are, especially who are leading teams, shared that one of the biggest issues right now is communication. And really, when you talk about communication, we have to understand that we talk about a lot of things and that communication breakdowns happen typically because we don't ensure we meet one another halfway. I don't ensure that you're getting the message the way I mean to send the message, and you don't ensure that you clarify where you don't understand. So why I'm saying that we're missing the number one skill when we talk about communication, we rarely talk about listening. How many times do you actually think about communication? Come on, be honest here. Be honest with yourselves. How many times when you think about communication do you actually think listening? Typically, it's public speaking, right? Typically, it's meetings, influencing, negotiating, all of that. All of that means a lot of listening. So I have a question for you today. Of course, I couldn't miss that. Here's my question to you. What do you think makes a good or bad listener in your experience? When you think about a time where you felt listened to and understood versus a time where you didn't feel listened to and understood. Now imagine or reimagine that conversation and think about what made the other person a good or a bad listener. What is your experience? You can put it in the comments. How did they make you feel? And what helped you feel that way? What's your experience? I really, really hope for those of you watching that you had a great experience at some point with somebody who really listened to you. Or if you had a bad experience, you can also share that. What did they do? How did they tell you that they were not listening? How did they show you that they were listening? What's the difference between a good or a bad listener? Here's what people typically say, and you're free to absolutely comment or share and add to this, because I'm sure you might have plenty of your own examples. But here's what, and it comes over and over again in all of the groups of people that I worked with in a listening skills course or in a communication skills course or program. It always comes to that. When I felt listened to, that person showed me that they were paying attention. They were paying attention to me. And they knew how to show me that they were listening. By the way, I have this example of my daughter when she was, I think, about 4 or 5 years old. I was this busy mom, had my phone with me, my BlackBerry. That in that time and age, it was a BlackBerry, right? And here's what happened. So I was checking. I had an email, and I was checking it. And my daughter comes in, and she wants to communicate something to me. And she starts speaking. And at some point, and I was nodding with my phone and holding my phone and just also reading the email at the same time. And she comes to me and she says, "Mom, look at me." And I'm like, "Look at me. I have something to tell you." And I tell her, "Yeah, no, tell me, because I can hear what you have to say." And I wasn't looking at her. I was still looking at my screen. And she stopped and said, "No, I cannot give you what I have to give you. I cannot say what I want to say if you're not looking at me, because I don't think you're listening if you don't look at me." Like she was this young kid. She's very good at communication, by the way, natural communicator. But at that age, she was telling me, "Look, you're not showing me you're listening. I'm not going to give you my message because I don't think you're listening." So knowing how to show, it's all in the eye contact, body language. That says a lot. And by the way, just nodding and humming, that's not going to cut it. Because how many times are you nodding and like, "Yeah, okay, and you haven't heard or understood everything that person is saying to you. So how often does that happen? So they know how to show that they listen, and people need to see that you listen, especially for those visual people. They need to see. Visual people need to see that you listen. Auditory people hear that you listen, and sensory people need to feel that you listen. Okay, anyway, I can talk about this all day, but good listeners also manage themselves to eliminate distractions. And distractions are also internal, external. That can be a longer discussion. But managing distractions, by the way, being able to manage yourself to eliminate distractions, that goes very well with emotional intelligence. That's part of that self-awareness and being aware of what distracts me. And making them feel understood and not judged. When you're really listening to understand, not to reply, to partially quote Stephen Covey, that's when you listen to understood and you don't judge the other person, and they don't feel judged. They feel accepted. And that's where the real conversation can begin. And knowing how to ask questions. It was in this group that I had the workplace culture and communication program, and we were doing some exercises on listening skills. And it was some point we had people who were supposed to be the listeners and people who were supposed to be the speakers. And now the listeners were only able to ask questions, not make any statements. So what happens is you have somebody who talks about an issue that's on their mind, and they start talking because they know they're the speaker. It's funny how we put our own labels on, right? So you have somebody who is a speaker, and then you have somebody who's the listener, and the listener can only ask questions. And they did the exercise in smaller groups, and then we got back, and then we did the debrief. And in the debrief, some people who were speakers said, I was the speaker and I was exposing my issue and I was communicating my issue, and I wasn't getting any feedback. And because I was a speaker, I was thinking, okay, I need to keep speaking and speaking because I'm not sure if they understand what I mean. I'm not sure how much they've been paying attention, how much they've been listening so far. So I have to keep talking. And at some point, the pressure was so high that I had to constantly come up with something else to say because nobody was interrupting. And some of the listeners said, I wanted to ask some questions at some point, but I was thinking, is it rude to interrupt and ask a question? And actually, for the speaker, what happened was whenever the listener was asking them a question, all the speakers said, how much that helped me? It helped me because it took the pressure off of me as a speaker. It helped me because they were showing me they'd been listening, and they were showing me that they were interested in finding out more, in clarifying what they didn't understand, and in helping me express more of what I wanted to say. So when you think about it, there's a lot of things that we actually need to do when we're good listeners. We think about listening as this passive stuff that we need to do, or maybe not even do anything, just nod our head and maybe say a few ahas and hums. Okay, yeah. And it's not that. It doesn't work this way. There's actually a lot of things that you need to do as a good listener. Because here's what we're doing when we think we're listening, but we're actually not. We think that nodding and humming is all we need to do, and it's not true. There's so much more that we need to do to show the other one that we're listening, and to also help us focus and be able to really listen. And here's the thing. We often think about our own grocery shopping list, as I like to call it, is like all of these thoughts that come and go. You can't stop them. They're human. They're normal. They will be there. As you're listening to what I'm saying now, how many other things are you thinking about that you know of? Because some of them we think about and we don't even realize that we think about them. And we also, whenever we hear the other person saying something to us, we also think about our own situation, right? How do we relate to that situation? How does that connect to something that's our past experience? How does it connect to our own situation? And then obviously we start thinking about what is it that we can reply to this. And we think we're listening and we're not even realizing that in fact, we're thinking about something different, that our mind is focused on something else. So these are just a few of the things that we're doing when we think we're listening, but we're not. If you have anything else that you want to add to this list, absolutely feel free to do it. But just know that everybody does it. We all do it. It's human, it's normal, and there's things that we can do to help us become better listeners. Because Here's when we do need listening. Like all of you who are leading a team, no matter how big or small. And by the way, team family is also your team. So anyone who is leading anyone right now, you need listening. Great listening is great leadership. Full stop. That's where you start. When you talk about communication as a leader, you first and foremost talk about listening, because that gives you all of the background information, all of the details, everything that you need to know to be able to make better decisions, to be able to support your people better, to be able to understand what outcomes you need to go for, to be able to understand if there's a crisis coming in or not, and what is it that you can do. That comes with listening. You don't listen, you don't get the information, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. And people, leaders who don't listen, they're not able to create that environment where people feel comfortable to come and share their concerns, their worries, even new ideas and new concepts that might be revolutionary and completely out of the box. And that might actually help you perform at a different level as a team and as an organization, as a business. So if you're leading a team of any size, anywhere, like virtual or not, you need, and especially if it's virtual, by the way, you need to be able to listen properly and to know what you can do to listen better. By the way, you want to bring new team members on a team? What are you going to do? Interviewing skills, they're 80% listening. 80% listening. Because by the way, questions are also part of good listening. Asking good questions are also part of good listening, of what a great listener does. And with that, why listening is such an important communication skill is because it actually helps you address conflict and have difficult conversations. Because you're not going to start, if you don't know what fuels the conflict, if you don't know the root cause of that, if you don't know the background of a difficult situation so that you can have a valuable conversation around it, you're not going to be able to build that trust in that relationship right there, in that dynamic. So you need the information and the background and the situation you need to fully understand before you can actually talk about solutions and next steps. How are you going to understand? By knowing how to listen. And by the way, customer service, again, that's 80% listening. Think about your own experience. Again, we talked about this a lot in a lot of the conversations that I had as part of different workshops that I did. It's all about what was your experience as a customer, and when did you feel great as a customer? When you felt listened to and understood and not judged, but even more, accepted and valued. That's what we all crave for. That's what listening does. So, what can we do? What can we do to become better listeners and better leaders? Well, it's easy. It's easy. Yes. Do you have to know some techniques to help you with that? Absolutely. But if you think about it, it's easy. I call it the 3 steps technique, which is basically caring, focusing, and understanding. So that's the 3 steps. First, care, then focus, and then understand. And now think about it this way. In your experience, whenever you care about the situation, are you able to focus more on what that person is saying, on the communication, on the message that you're getting? I bet you do. And we forget that. We forget that when we care, about something, we're able to focus on it better because we care about it. Of course, that helps us focus on it better. And because we focus, that's when we're able to understand better. And that's when we're able to realize, hey, did I just tune off right now? Did you, by the way? Did you tune off as I'm saying this? Am I tuning off? And what does it take for me to bring myself back in? How can I clarify what I missed in the conversation right now? How many times do you pretend you're listening to somebody and you're actually missing a few of the things that they're saying to you? And you come back and say something like, you know what? I realized I missed what you just said. Would you mind repeating that? Instead of letting the person keep talking and you pretending that you're hearing what they said. That happens. I mean, that can happen. It's again, think about it. It's human. And to be honest, the latest research is that we have the attention span not even as much as a goldfish, even lesser than the goldfish. So what does that say? It's about 6 seconds, 5 seconds. That's like, and that means every 6 seconds, like we have thoughts that come and go. There's something that is gonna caught our attention and we get distracted. So when you think about it, think about listening to understand. And for you to be able to focus and understand, choose to care about the situation. For instance, you're getting a call from somebody who says, I just got that job that I was interviewing for. What's your response to that? Because you care about that. You're happy for them. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so happy you got the job. Already repeating what they just told you. Tell me more. How was it? When do you start? Already asking more questions and encouraging the person to tell you more. Were you listening? Yes. Were you showing you were listening? Yes. What helped you show you were listening? Caring. What helped you focus on what you were saying, on what they were saying? Caring. Caring about the person, caring about the situation. So start there. And there are exercises that you can do to help you improve, to help you care, to help you, because sometimes we really don't care about that situation. What can we do to help with that? What can we do to choose to care? There's techniques that you can use that actually help you care, actually help you focus better, and help you make sure that you understand. And I have, for those of you who are interested in finding out more and getting those techniques and having them, you get this course, you have it forever. And you have the techniques, you have the role plays, you have a lot of the stuff that you can do so that you listen to understand and you listen to be able to boost teamwork, to boost that motivation, to understand your team and to make better decisions and better informed decisions and to go after the results and choose what results you need to go after depending on all of the background information that you're getting, and also manage conflict. So it's, for those of you who are watching this, it's 50% off today, the August 13th. If you're watching this any other day, by the way, until the end, and you get to this point where I'm talking about the discount, message me because I'm going to give it for you discounted as well whenever you're listening and you've reached this point and you want it. So I'm going to put the link in the comments because I want you to be able to get all of the information of how you can get the listening skills course 50% off. So again, this is off today, August the 13th only. And for those of you watching offline until the end of this, and you want it, let me know, DM me, and we'll figure something out for you. All right. So, what I would like to say is help others who lead teams, or help others if you're a parent. Listening skills are essential. Help yourself improve listening skills by just applying those little steps, whatever they mean for you, and see how you can choose to care, how you can focus, and how you can choose to understand the message that you're getting. Meet the speaker halfway and see the magic that happens there. Because really, to me, listening is absolutely the number one communication skill. And if you're a leader, you can't lead without it. It's one tool in your leadership toolbox that you absolutely must have and use and know how to use. All right. So, that said, I hope you listened. Now, that said, I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, if you have comments, if there's anything that you want to share about your listening experience, what makes a good or bad listener to you, put it in the comments. Let me know. And I'm happy to chat to you more about it. Other than that, that's it for today. Listen well and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.